Okay, and so our final question for our panel today, and then you'll all be off to your wonderful tracks, is can you give us an example of a recent case study, a recent example of an implementation that you have heard of or have experienced in business intelligence that you would exemplify as the future of BI?
I could probably start, so let me think here for a minute. That would exemplify as the future. So without going into customer names, maybe can I give more of a generalization? So one of the things that we're seeing, and this ties into what we're talking about, is we're seeing, for instance, a lot of customers, a lot of vendors are splashing around the big data, predictive analytics realm, right? You can't go anywhere right now on the internet and not hear about mobile, yes. Cloud, yes. Big data, yes. Social BI, right? These are all, you go on the internet, these are just buzzwords. And I think that what we're finding is that one of the things that, I had an executive tell me the other day, that he feels that the bridge between getting users from where they are today, where they still struggle to see analytics, and getting them to where they want them to be, where they start to do these kind of what I call Captain Kirk analytics, right? Google Glasses, you're going crazy, Mission Impossible 3, is predictive analytics. And what we're seeing in organizations is that there's a higher adoption on the top layer for executives that want predictive versus on the lower layer where they realize they're gonna have to maybe hire a data scientist to get it done. Right? So I think, without going into names, we've begun to see on the top that a lot of, some of the executives have what they call their Incredibles team. Like they develop this wing, what do you call it, a wingman or a wing team. One company called them the special ops team, right? And this team, now mind you, they have all this structure to get the regular reporting, but I've seen a lot of executives kind of arm themselves with this small team that's like their right hand. That's kind of like an analyst mixed with an ARM team who can produce these predictive and type things that they want automatically. So I've seen that happen now with 3 really large customers. I don't know if I want to say that's a future because they're adopting it in a silo, but I think what you're going to see is that as that begins to spread on the top, again, it's going to kind of come down to dog food on the bottom and people are going to have to adopt it. I hate to keep saying that, but that's what we're seeing in organizations. So like with us, we get called in when people want to do high-end analytics, right? We are very specialized. So we get called in by the highest levels of executive rank to come in and do high-end analytics. So a lot of times we get called in either by the team that's in the corner or the executive who's tired of looking at bar charts. They're like, I know there's more there, why can't my team produce it? And so again, what we see is that when we produce some type of high-end analytic on the top, eventually what is the next goal? They need to adopt this below. Everybody needs to look at this, they need to do it. So I think we're beginning to see that more and more without calling customer names, but for the most part, to be honest, Paul, a lot of teams are very slow to adapt. I mean, from an enterprise-wide level, you have departments that may be running, but when you talk about enterprise adoption, I'm not, unless it's being forced from the top, which is very hard because a lot of companies are struggling with, I have an ROI, right, that I've invested billions or millions of dollars, versus I have a quick win I need to get right now. And I don't think even on the top layer that decision is very clear right now.
Analytics, yes. Right, to help them,
more and more.
Right, to help them run their business.
Their little arm, these teams are like 3
right.
or 4 these things. I've seen that literally in 3, 4 different companies.
Right, and I take it you don't own the dog. And if you did, you wouldn't feed it steaks.
Right.
Okay, Glen.
I've got 3 examples I think that are quite different. And because I don't think we have, I've seen one example where I'd say is outstanding support. The first one is, in Australia, is one of the largest real estate sites in the world. So in terms of being able to sort of advertise properties online. And so working with this, firstly, the thing that I realised was that the actual house owner is not the customer. The customer is the real estate agent. So the real estate agents in Australia work very, very differently to the way they are here. They are essentially large organisations with multi-branches. They're not individual individuals. So you've got to give it from that perspective because they don't know the story. So realestate.com is one of our customers. And one of the things that they really want to do is to sell product with analytics. So what they've done is actually they've looked at when their field sales force go out to visit their customers, they take them and they actually walk those customers through a dashboard, through a storyboard about all of the efficacy of all their ads that they had for the last period online, what's working for them, what's not working for them, where they should be spending their money. So they've actually got a sales guy who's completely integrated into the whole BI story and is telling that story to a customer and explaining to the customer where it is they need to be spending their money in that organization. And I think that's a really, really interesting shift at that level. The second one is a large university, Macquarie University, and what I love about the vision of this particular CIO is that he is, one, he's very, very business oriented, but he truly wants self-service BI to be successful at every level. And in working with them, we've come up with many, many innovations to help that. And really the core of it is data governance. Is the way they think about what it means, who's creating content, the validity of that content. And at a very simple level to enable this, and I think it comes down to simple solutions, was just the capacity to watermark content that's been created by the core team, the BI team that work with the CIO, that work with the CIO, versus the private content that's being generated by the 5,000 people in the organisation who can load their own data, create their own content. And so anywhere in the organisation, if a report comes up, you can quickly tell who made it, is it authorised, is it valid, and therefore ask the right questions about it. And so I think that to me is really, really interesting, the way that it's taken, and really wanting people to be active in the organisation. And the third one is a local government which works with another university, and this was about bringing a whole lot of disparate data in, and actually really doing public good with the information. So they have 85 different data providers, so electricity suppliers, water suppliers, road, rubbish, sewage, all these things. And they brought all this information together and packaged up in a way to be able to do what-if analysis and actually understand the impact of urbanisation, growth of this particular county equivalent, and to really use information far more practically at a local government level to plan their city, to think about their city, rather than just doing it from a traditional group. And so, again, what I like about all of these really is the shift of data from being a very small niche that will sort of sea of black into something that's far more basic with lots of people getting involved in using it.
Excellent, three really good examples. And the last one, I remember actually listening to that myself when I was out in Australia, and absolutely fascinating in terms of it really informed, allowed the people in charge there of that county to make truly informed decisions, as opposed to the general, gut decision or based upon the people who complained the loudest. Now they could actually see what was really happening. So it's a great example. Ryan.
Yeah, so the reason I handed off, I was conflicted internally. Do I tell a success story that uses our own technology, or do I tell a success story that really is profound and cool? So I'm going to go with the cool and profound one, and I can tell you about the story with our own technology later on tonight. So the cool story that I saw was actually with UPS. And I know Yellowfin is probably, well not probably, you guys are the thought leaders amongst all of the BI solutions when it comes to location analytics. They produce probably some of the best content around location intelligence. And the scenario I saw with UPS really takes analytics to a whole new level. And I'll give you a quick example. So when a UPS delivery guy comes to your door, they have that brown device where you sign for your package. It looks like it was built 20 years ago, but it actually has a lot of intelligence and smarts inside of it. So it has a GPS inside of it, so that when they show up to your door, all of the information, when you write in on the website, don't leave this on my door, and write notes, all the information and history for you is delivered to that device as they walk to your door. They don't have to go hunt back for it. Based on it knowing where it's located, it automatically serves that information right to the device. without them even having to touch the device. Furthermore, if they're delivering to a new location or somewhere on a rural road and there's some problem with the location, they can actually enter it into the device. And that's synced back with Homebase. So the next delivery that occurs at that location, that information is served up. And they're using all of this data that they're capturing to proactively go through and change and modify routes. They actually figured out that every single mile saved on the road is equivalent to tens of millions of dollars. So they have an ROI goal of reducing the mileage that the UPS trucks drive. And so if every truck can save a mile, it's hundreds of millions of dollars saved. And so they're effectively using analytics in that way, and they're even describing a new kind of analytics. So even beyond big analytics, they're talking about simulation-based analytics, and that's where UPS is at, where they're saying, all right, here's what I predict is going to happen. Let me change some of the variables, and let me run the scenarios of delivering virtual packages and see what the results would be. And that's a level and dimension that, frankly, none of us are at. They've made such a huge investment over the years, and they're so far ahead of the curve because they're using their own proprietary technology. They have a lot of data scientists that are part of the phase all the way from beginning to end, and they're really taking analytics to whole new levels that I've never seen before. From what I saw, it's very, very fascinating stuff.
Excellent, brilliant example as well. And I'd like to thank you all again. Three absolutely first-class BI visionaries here. They will be here for the entire conference. I encourage you to ask them your own personal questions. I think they've certainly given us some wonderful gems today to think about. And at the evening reception tonight, which will be held right here from 6 to 9 p.m., they will be at their appropriate tables and booths, and I encourage you to go and speak with them as well as at the lunches and the breaks. So again, thank you very much. Let's give them a round of applause.